I've been getting requests from viewers to cover the topic of pagination. I went back and added a pagination feature to the employee directory app that we built in episode 13 and 7. As you see, the list of employees is now paginated. Volt makes pagination pretty easy, and in fact it's so easy that today is probably going to be one of my shorter episodes. So let's dive in and take a look. So the first thing we need to do is stop calling the users collection directly from the view like I'm doing right here. Instead of doing that, I'm going to put this logic into a method called CurrentPage so that I can slice through the collection and separate things out into their own pages. I haven't written this method yet, but I will in the next scene, so sit tight. For convenience, we can keep track of the page number by writing a controller method to keep track of that also. We're going to need to write a method called pagenum inside of the controller, along with the CurrentPage helper that I mentioned previously. The last thing to add here at the bottom is going to be the page flipper widget. For this one, I will create a controller method that can increment or decrement the page number. It's going to do that using this method that you see here that I've yet to write. That's all we need to do for the view. We've got three things to take care of in the controller now: retrieving the current page from the database, displaying the current page number, and flipping back and forth between pages. As you saw on the first screen when I did the demonstration, we were showing 5 records per page. I'll store that number into a constant here at the class level. I'll also make a method to store the current page number that's going to default to 0 if nothing's been set. The params object is a great place to store this information because it allows the user to create shareable links for the page that they're on. One thing to keep in mind though is that members of the params object are stored as strings always, so we need to coerce that number into an integer when we try to use it. Now what about that current page method we talked about in the previous screen? We can grab a slice of the user collection using the .skip and .limit methods that Volt comes with. We multiply the page number by the page size to skip the previous pages, and then we limit the query to return only one page of records. If we wanted to get more in depth, we could add some configuration options to give the user more control. Lastly, I'm going to make a method called flip that will increment or decrement the current page number to whatever number is passed in, either positive or negative. Like you saw on the previous screen, I would pass in -1 and that would go back one page, or put in a +1 to go forward. This method would be almost correct, but it will actually cause runtime exceptions if the user tries to flip below page 0. Let's guard against negative page numbers since page 0 is the lowest page number, and anything lower than that will raise exceptions. That's really all we need to do to get some basic pagination going. Let's check it out in the browser to make sure that it worked. And there we go. We have a real-time page flipper widget with just a few lines of controller code. If you would prefer to not manage your own pagination logic and don't need too much control over fine details, there is a ready-made component gem called Volt Pagination, which was written by Ryan Stout. It takes in a couple of config parameters and outputs a pre-styled page flipper widget using Twitter Bootstrap. It's worth a look if you're just looking for something quick and don't want to write pagination logic from scratch. That's all for today. If you've enjoyed the episodes, consider signing up for Premium, where we cover more advanced topics on a bi-weekly basis. Subscriptions start at $5 a month and help me create future episodes. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week.